Hi, I'm Steve. You are you. Welcome to DigiAdvice. Today we're talking to Katie from ECM Consulting. She is a LinkedIn profile expert. She helps people build better resumes and is also across the personal branding space as well. So we're going to talk about those things and much more in today's episode. Hi, Katie.
Hi, Steve. How are you? Thanks for having me.
Good, good. No, thanks for coming. So we might start with resumes because that's probably a beneficial side of things with people unfortunately having to either close their business or go out of their current roles. What can people be focusing on with their resume?
And I suppose a good place to start, and I suppose what I was going to say, but it all links in together. So the personal branding, the LinkedIn and the resume, it all links in together. So I suppose the first part of it is yes, I do go into detail, I suppose a quick step of the personal branding before I develop the resume, because I need to know, and personal branding is about defining who you are, what's your story, what makes you unique and different, to be able to stand out from those other 200 applications that might be applying for the job. So sorry, I've just turned it around a little bit, Steve, but the personal branding is being able to identify your strength, or identify and promote your strengths, your skills, your achievements, your values, and that you can bring. And that's what we've got to sell in that resume, obviously. So, as I said, to what's your point of difference, and that's what's going to make you stand out as I said, against those other 200 applicants that might be applying for the same job. So, especially the achievements is really important part of your resume, because you've got to think of, let's say you've got 200 applications, and I know these are some of the figures that are applying for, let's say for example, an administration officer. There's 200 plus applications applying for that same administration officer role. There's no way that, one, they're not going to recruiters or hiring managers are going to read 200 plus applications. So this is why they've got these application tracking systems in place, to be able to filter out, they're scanning for keywords, key phrases that they've which, when I'm developing those resumes and application letters, are derived from those job advertisements. So that's one thing I've got to look at, is those job advertisements, and see what their keywords and key phrases. So we're trying to match those keywords and your skills to that and you're trying to tailor your resume in line with that job application. So every time you apply for a new job, you're tailoring it for that employer, basically, or that recruiter that's advertising the position. So they're going through these application tracking systems, and as I said, they might have the 200 plus applications. And what they're saying is 75 to 80% of those applications may not even be seen by a human eye. The application tracking software will delete those files if you haven't got any of those keywords or key phrases in there. So that's the first part of the resume. I suppose quickly, just to give you a brief idea of what a resume entails, is it's usually 2 to 3 pages. As I said, your achievements is what you're going to make you stand out and be your point of difference from, let's say those other 200 applications. So, administration officer can be fairly, mundane sort of resume, unless you've got those achievements in there. So any awards that you might have had, where you've used your problem solving skills or your initiative to develop a new process or a new procedure, or that sort of thing. So, or even if it's as simple as, and I'm picking administration officers here at the moment, is, you know, you might have fixed up the filing system. It could be something as simple as that, but you've used your initiative to go and do that. So that's what they're you know, that's some of the things that they might be looking for. So yeah, so as I said, resumes are, as I said, 2 to 3 pages, usually only go back about that 10-year mark. Otherwise, you know, if you've had a few jobs in the last 10 years, or, you know, if you go right back, you know, way to the beginning and you've been in the workforce, let's say 20 plus years, your resume can be too long and they don't want to read that.
Yeah, and LinkedIn profiles can be really helpful for this as well. I know that when we're recruiting, we look at Facebook and see what Facebook reflects. We also look at LinkedIn and see what's reflected on there.
That's right.
How can people improve their LinkedIn profile?
Okay, so I suppose there is a double up between your resume and your LinkedIn, and again, your LinkedIn is part of your personal brand as well. So with the LinkedIn, yes, there is a overlap with your resume, but there's a little bit more to it. I mean, obviously, we're trying to optimize it so, you know, so it brings your viewing rates up and that sort of thing. So the LinkedIn is really important these days because a lot more jobs are being advertised on there, but you've got to think of it as an online networking tool as well. So to get the most benefit out of with your LinkedIn, you are making sure that you're networking. It's a bit like, you know, the old adage is, it's not what you know, it's who you know, sort of thing. So especially at the moment where we're all in lockdown and not really seeing many people, you know, LinkedIn is really crucial at the moment. So it's, you know, instead of, you know, it's what you know, or who you know, sorry, but doing it on online version, obviously, using those connections that you have. So connecting with, you know, people that you know for one, and secondly, also connecting with people that maybe you've met them at networking functions and that sort of thing. So connecting with them, you know, through the online platform, but also it's so LinkedIn is, because a lot more jobs have been advertised on LinkedIn now as well. So connecting or following, secondly, apart from those, having those connections, and they say a minimum of 500, you know, around that 500 to increase your viewing rates, but also following those target companies that you want to get a job at. So what's happening when you follow those target companies? So let's say you want to, you know, you target company, that business, or where your dream job is, or where the dream employer that you want to work at, you would follow them. So one, you're going to get their feeds coming through to you, and also their jobs that they might be advertising, but also they can see you following them. So when you make any comments or likes or that sort of thing, and you've got to use LinkedIn as well to show your industry expertise. So you might put articles on, let's say, you know, say for you, Steve, you're in the digital world, you might put write a blog, or you know, which is what they consider as an article on LinkedIn, or you might write a short post, and you would put your industry expertise on there. So that's what they would be, that those target companies that you're following, they want to see that industry expertise that and what you're value adding. Or, you know, someone else has put a post and you put some comments on there. So again, they're looking at that industry, your industry knowledge or your industry expertise. So that's how you've got to use LinkedIn. And obviously what they're doing, if you're applying for jobs on LinkedIn, they're using these plugins, and and same as Seek is using plugins, and what they're doing is scouring your social media platforms or profiles. So they're using when they're checking out though, and this is all part of personal branding as well, because what they're trying to do is, you know, as you said, check out, what you're doing on your Facebook or what you're doing on your LinkedIn. And they're trying to check out your personal brand or your point of difference from those other people that are on there. But I mean, obviously, when they're using their plugins, they're not just looking for the negative stuff; they're looking for the positive stuff as well. So, but it's all part of that shortlisting process.
Yeah. And with posting on LinkedIn, do you know how often is optimal? Like a couple of times a day, a couple of times a week, 6 monthly?
A little bit more than that, yes. And that's the problem. I suppose if you can, 2 or 3 times a week is at, and I know you follow a couple of people that I follow as well. They say if you can spend 10 minutes a day on there, just connecting with people, and also, maybe putting an article or sharing an article, that sort of thing. There's a lot of people, and the downfall where people are not making the most of LinkedIn is, and I've seen it with, updating people's LinkedIn profiles and that sort of thing. They'll go and update it when I'm applying for a job, sort of thing. So they haven't kept up to date their current job, or they haven't kept up to date with, their education, that they might have finished a course, or, a degree, or that sort of thing. So, and my son, actually, he's at university at the moment, and they've had to put a LinkedIn profile as part of one of their first assessments, sort of thing. And one of the guys, people that I said, because I sort of gave him a little bit of a help, and I said, make sure you connect with this person, because he was hoping to have some part-time work and might have fallen through because of all of this. And the guy that he connected with had his last job on there. He hasn't even got his current role on here at the moment, on his LinkedIn profile at the moment. So, and that's probably a downfall with a lot of job seekers. They're not keeping it up to date, and they've got to go and put all this work together while they, before they, as part of their job preparation, sort of thing. So.
Course. And a lot of business owners as well wouldn't have it up to date. So if unfortunately they have to go and find a job, or something similar to that, they're going to have a lot of work trying to build out that LinkedIn profile. Whereas if they were keeping it up to date,
that's right.
Today is a good place to start.
That's right.
Just keeping that up to date is going to make it less work later on.
That's right, and this is, I suppose, a really crucial time at the moment, because, which I've said in a few posts, this is really crucial time to make sure your online presence is up to date, because I think I saw something quoted the other day. Since the last couple of weeks, social media usage has gone up by 66%. So a lot more people, because we've got a bit more time, or we're stuck at home, we're probably looking at the social media sites a lot more, scrolling through and whatever. This is the time where people are looking out, looking for things, or, trying to find news, or, what businesses are doing what, and that sort of thing. So this is a really opportune time to make the most of it.
And how does personal branding come into that?
So your personal branding, it comes all the way through. So it's coming through, as I said, right from the beginning. It's the chicken before the egg scenario, I suppose. You've got to know your personal brand to be able to develop your resume, to have your LinkedIn and develop your LinkedIn profile as well. And then the personal branding is also part of the shortlisting process as well. So they're checking out your personal branding as part of the shortlisting. So doing the Google searches, and as part of that Google search, if your LinkedIn profile is completed, it will come in the top 3 of a Google search. So the advanced search of your personal brand is they'll go and have a look in your LinkedIn profile as well. So the personal branding is coming all the way through it, sort of thing. So, and it's the same for not just the job seekers, but it's also for the business owners as well. So, that personal brand is, I suppose you yourself, there might be let's say 20 other people in Toowoomba that are doing the same as you. What's your point of difference from those other 20 business owners doing this, offering the same services? What are you doing differently, or what's your uniqueness and point of difference from those other 20 local businesses in Toowoomba? So what's going to set you apart from those other people? So that's part of your personal brand.
And I think that part there is really important, because I think we can get lost in terminology, and people who are less familiar with the terminology will think of branding as, okay, well, there's Coca-Cola and there's Nike and those sorts of things. But personal branding is something that is still relatively new. Can we unpack that a little bit, and how value propositions come in to that, and how we can express that as people?
Yes. Yeah, you got a top-loaded question there. So I suppose, you were saying as the Coca-Cola, you see their brand, and that's what personal branding is about. You look at, let's say the McDonald's or the Coca-Colas, which are big brands, obviously, and you see the yellow, let's pick on McDonald's, and you see the golden arches, exactly that's McDonald's, and what it stands for, and that sort of thing. So I suppose it's the same. Personal branding is similar. If you see Katie Robertson Kelk or ECM Consulting, you know exactly what it's about. If you see Steve on online, you know what he's about. So it's promoting you and your values, as I said, your uniqueness. And if someone sees Steve on social media or whatever, they know exactly what you offer. And I suppose we're not going to get as small business owners, we're not going to get as big as, the likes of, the McDonald's or unless you want to go that way. But, but when someone sees you or they see your logo, they know exactly what your business is about, because that's what you've portrayed. You've kept, I suppose if you see the golden arches, and if you work for McDonald's or that sort of thing, they've got set standards. You've got to, they've probably got those customer service standards in place. They've got those operational standards in place, and they've got to comply to that. And that's streamlined right across us. And so there's that consistency. So again, when you're portraying your personal brand, you've got to be consistent with it. So the couple of small business owners that I've worked with doing the personal branding program that I've put together, it's being consistent. So having the same photo on all your, when you're putting your photos on your profile, on your different profiles, they're the same photo right across, because you need to have that consistency. So when they see Katie, a photo of me, it's consistent across all my profiles and that sort of thing. So personal branding is being consistent. It's having that consistency, because you want to keep defining who you are, what your uniqueness is, what you're trying to achieve in your business, and those sort of things. Hopefully that answers your question.
Yeah, and Google likes consistency as well, so there's an added as well. Yeah. So,
and what I was going to say, LinkedIn is now owned by Microsoft, so and there was a bit of a lull there, and you can think the likes of Google and Microsoft and that sort of thing, they're going to, as you said, Google likes Google sort of thing, so Microsoft's going to like Microsoft sort of stuff. So yeah.
Of course. Yeah. Yeah. So how would you go about, if you were coming into this completely fresh and you were trying to create a personal brand, would you start with your personal values, and how would you do that? Would you just do a Google search on values and pick out the ones that you like, or is there more of a process behind that?
Yeah, so as I quickly mentioned before, I've put a program together. I've put a 4-module program together, and also I've done a quick sort of discovery session. So that's going through, the first module is my discovery, my sort of an hour, hour and a half discovery session. So it's going through and asking some of those questions about, what 3 words, let's say just as an example, what are the 3 words that describe you? Tell me, I'm trying to get information about you through that, what are your values? What are your strengths? What are your skills? What are you passionate about doing? Having a think about, what's the best thing you like to do? What do you believe you're best at? So, and what situation are you in when you're best at in doing that? That you're best at. So, so it's trying to identify some of those things and sort of really doing I suppose it's a bit like a skills and gaps analysis as well. So that's part of the the process that I'm going through with that. So, yeah.
And do you find in that process, through the week, we've been talking about pivoting a lot, and a lot of people having to either get online if they can with their business, or pivoting in a way that they can get online with their business and still run it, but just doing something differently. Have you found that when you do go through that process with your clients, that there'll be skills come up that you go, oh, well, you can utilize this skill in this way and further improve your resume, or further improve your personal brand going in that direction?
Yeah, so the couple of small business owners that I've worked with, I've done a couple where I've done the full program with them, and it sort of gave them better clarification of one, themselves, and secondly, who their target market was. So I had, not to say obviously who the clients are or anything like that, or the businesses are, but one of them was struggling a little bit, who, she's a bookkeeper. She's a bookkeeper and an accountant, but she's offering bookkeeping services as part of her new business, which she just sort of started up at the end of last year. And she sort of, it gave her more clarification and as I was talking about before, there might be 90 other bookkeepers here in Toowoomba, and they're all sort of offering the same sort of services. So it gave her clarification who her target market was, and she was able to, through that personal branding program and the process, identified that her target market was, she wanted to offer her services to the healthcare sector. So because she identified that there wasn't any other bookkeepers doing that, they were just sort of doing as general, all that sort of thing. So she was able from that process work out her point of difference and uniqueness was, yes, she's doing bookkeeping services, but it was specifically she only wanted to work with the healthcare sector.
And that pulls everything together as well, because those values to work with healthcare people, you're going to be embracing compassion, and you're going to need to work with integrity, because I imagine that they wouldn't work with anyone that didn't have integrity. And those sorts, it just all ties in together, doesn't it?
That's right, and that's and part of personal branding is knowing what your values are as well. So that's part of your identifying. And I suppose you got to think of those big guys. They've got their values. They've got their their vision of what services or products they're supplying, that sort of thing. So. And I suppose a lot more businesses are starting to put down what their vision is or what their values are and that sort of thing. So, and the same we've got to do as small business owners as well, knowing what our values are.
Do you encourage people to put their vision and potentially their mission statement on their LinkedIn profile, or is that something that you put on your website only, or where's the best place to put that?
I suppose, I mean, probably not so much for, job seeker, but I mean, you could put that in your LinkedIn profile, but probably more, I suppose, what you're trying to do as a business owner and, doing a bit of LinkedIn, challenges and that sort of thing at the moment. One thing, and one thing I've done is to make sure even though I've got my own LinkedIn profile, but also having a business one connected to that personal one as well. So you could put that sort of thing in that business, that company, that what they call a company LinkedIn page. So you could put some of those sort of things in there. But yeah, I suppose, even in your summary in your LinkedIn for a job seeker, you could put some of your values in there as well. So yeah.
I think that would resonate a lot. If you've got values in there, maybe not mission statement and vision.
No.
As you said, especially as a job seeker. But if you had values in there, I think that would resonate really well.
And I suppose, I mean, ultimately, when I'm doing, interview coaching with clients and that sort of thing, which is another service that I provide, is, the interview process is a two-way reciprocation. So, you want to work with, I mean, yes, the employer is trying to interview you to find out what your skills are and that sort of thing. But it's a process for also the person being interviewed, the job candidate, to see if your values are in line with the employer's values. So, because you don't really want to work sometimes I know it's hard, and especially when you're starting out, you just want a job. You don't care as long as it's a job sort of thing. But when you get a bit older, a bit more mature, I shouldn't say older, but a bit more mature, you've got a bit of experience under your belt and that sort of thing. I suppose you can be a little bit more choosy with who you want to work for, but you want to work for someone that's going to have similar value, employer that's going to have similar values to you and culture to you and that sort of thing. Otherwise, you're not going to, probably enjoy the job or get much out of the job sort of thing. It's not going to be in line with, what you want in your career and your goals and that sort of thing.
Great. Well, thanks for your time today, Katie.
Thank you for having me.